Hello, it's been a little while, but I've had some exciting movement on one of my projects, and I thought it'd be quite fun to create a little project vlog for it. I mentioned in one of my previous videos that I'd been knitting a lot and that I didn't need any more knitted items for myself, and I thought one of the ways that I might deal with this is by taking on commissions. So I've done a crochet commission. I'm now able to work on my first knitting commission. The thing that I was waiting on was the yarn, so that arrived in the post yesterday, so that is here, and I'll show you. And I just thought I'll start by introducing the project, what I'm planning on doing, and then I'll check in as much as feels practical around the rest of my life as I go, and try and get some nice footage of me knitting, and then yeah, hopefully show the finished garment. And I also thought this might be quite fun because the person that's commissioned me is really excited about the project and excited about someone doing an individual project, like a custom made one. I thought this might be quite a fun thing for her to see as well. So welcome if you're here, Christina. So I'm making a jumper for one of my friends. I posted up just on Facebook about these are my commissions, they're open, and this is kind of what I'm charging. I'm doing product cost and yarn cost. So she's paid for the yarn, and then when I give her the jumper, I'm going to be taking the price of a semi-expensive jumper, but like H&M expensive. To add in the price of the labour cost would make it really stupidly expensive, and I'm not about that life. I want people to be kind of invested and to buy it, but not to make a business or profitable or anything like that. That's not why I'm doing it. So I'm basing the pattern on this jumper that I made for myself. It's a V-neck jumper. I was actually inspired to make this one by the TV show Marcella. She wears a jumper like this in season 4, and I'm so happy with how it came out. It's exactly the same vibe. The colours are a bit different. They're a bit darker on mine, obviously. But same mood, same kind of drapey sexiness that is somehow like very understated. Mine's made out of acrylic. I knitted it on 5.5mm needles, which is what I'm intending to do, and I think I used 2 strands of 4-ply held together as opposed to an actual double knit for both the blue and the grey. And I knit the blue parts first and then picked up all the stitches for the grey. I think for this one I'm going to do it a little bit more traditionally and integrate the ribbing into it because I'm doing it all in one colour. So it's got ribbing around the bottom, a 1x1 rib, around the cuffs and around the neck. If I show you the back piece, it's a rectangle. It's a drop shoulder construction. So this is literally just a square piece. And then on the front, I've worked up to the armpit, and then I started decreasing on the inside. So I worked one side, decreasing up one side, and then cast off, and then picked up another one. The sleeves are straight, so there's no shaping on the sleeves either. They are just a long tube. It's all stretched out a little bit because I've been wearing it, which is appropriate, and also because it's acrylic, it's got a little bit of space to grow. Yeah, and because it's a drop shoulder construction, everything's just squares and rectangles, so there's no shaping for set-in sleeves. My top shows it quite well, actually. So you might end up with seams like this if you're doing a set-in sleeve. If you're doing raglan sleeves, you end up with those diagonal lines going across the neck, which look really nice. This one's a drop shoulder, so the seam for the shoulder comes along here, which makes the knitting for it very simple. And having the decreases just up on one side makes for a really kind of big wide V, and I think, to me, because I think like the shoulders out sort of aspect to it and the kind of falling over the hands like this, that's the part that really gives it that kind of elegant-y, sexy look, despite the fact that it's just like a jumper and quite just like comfy. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's the wide neckline, the kind of exposure, but yeah, I really like it. I'm excited to be making another one. I also made one in this style for my best friend. She gave me some yarn, and I was like, I'm going to knit a jumper and give it back to you. And she was like, okay. So yeah, so what yarn are we using? Now, and I'm getting really paranoid. I'm trying to remember if Christina or Christina. I think her name's Christina, but I'm so sorry if I say it wrong the entire vlog. She's allergic to wool. So I said, okay, there's two options. The first option is a really cheap option, and we go with acrylic, a synthetic fibre. That way you're not going to have any allergies to it, and it's going to be fairly easy to care for. But she wanted something a little bit more exciting, so I said the next like viable option, if you want like an animal fibre, so it's going to be like wool but not give her that allergic reaction, is alpaca. And very excitingly, my order of 500 grams of alpaca arrived yesterday. So this is the alpaca it's from. I did, when I went to go and buy some alpaca fibre before, I found out there's actually somewhere reasonably local to me, like in Hampshire. And they're called Hensknit alpacas. I've never done any work with them or anything, I went on an alpaca walk with them. I went to buy some alpaca fibre, I went on a birthday walk, it was fantastic. You walk the alpacas and you get to feed them, and you pet them and they're all squishy and lovely. It's fantastic. And I bought some fibre while I was there. And this is the fibre, just like completely raw, that I've been spinning. And this is what it looks like spun by them. I think this is from Willow and this is from Kahlua, who are two different alpacas, but it's entirely possible, same alpaca, that these are from Kahlua. It's a bay black alpaca with a little face, and they hand spin it in the place. So when they shear the alpacas, they keep the fibre, they hand spin it. It's spun by a woman called Caroline, and because she happened to be there when I was walking, I know she spins on an e-spinner. So I've got this hand-spun alpaca yarn, and that was very exciting as well. I was telling Christina about it, and she was like, oh, it's so exciting, it's being made for me. So yeah, I'm excited to get started with it. I've got 500 grams. If I were making a fitted jumper for myself, I would need 300. But I know that alpaca is quite a dense fibre, and Christina's also a little bit bigger than me. Not a lot. Like, the measurement between like armpit and like high hip on me is 13 inches and on her it's 14. I think she might also be like 2 inches bigger on the bust. The measurements I've got from her, because I think it makes sense to talk about the patterning and how I'm doing it. The measurements I've got from her were the distance from high hip to armpit, the circumference like of her bust, and also the measurement from here to the end of her arm, which feels like it might be slightly weird, but if you're doing anything that involves armpit shaping, like you're going to cast off stitches, which sometimes you do, on this one not, because it's drop shoulder. It doesn't have any armpit shaping. That's the amount that you knit, because I'm going to knit it bottom up. So I'm going to knit the ribbing on and then work my way up. This one I knit bottom up to here and then start doing the V. So that just tells me what that measurement is, and when I should therefore start doing the V-neck. The bust circumference I'm going to divide by 2, and then that will give me this width. Because the jumper has no shaping to it, it's like slouchy. I just need to make it so it fits the widest part, which on the predominantly of like femme torsos is kind of around the bust. If you're making it for someone with like a larger stomach, then that might be something to take into account. So you want the circumference of the widest part. And then I thought the easiest way to get the sleeves the right length was to have this measurement, because if I just had it from here, but then it's a drop shoulder, I don't know how long to make the sleeve. So I figured I'd go from the point of the V, and then that would be the middle of the chest, to the length of the arm. And then that would give me, so like that measurement. So I can measure from the middle of the V to the edge of it, and subtract that from the measurement she sent me to get the sleeve length. And then I usually work the sleeves up to the cuffs. And that way, if there's a problem with the length of the sleeve and I've like already sewed it on and attached it up here, I can potentially then like undo the back and just put a new thing on, either higher up or lower down, so it's got a little bit more adjustability. So that is the patterning, the yarn. and like the vision. The next step for me is I'm going to do a gauge swatch. I think I'll probably do this tomorrow. If you know me, you might be, she's doing a gauge swatch, but because it's not for me and because I don't make, I haven't made a jumper for Christina before, I need to measure. So I'm going to cast on 20 stitches, knit for a few rows, and then measure and see that. The widths are really important. The length I can work out a little bit more as I go, but the width is important to get everything the right width for the torso, and then the length will just be able to keep going until it's right. So I'm going to do the 20 stitches. If that comes out as being like 5 inches and I need it to be 15 inches, then that'll just be 60 stitches. So I can do the maths with that to work out sort of from that proportion. I think I'm probably going to do that tomorrow, so that's me signing off for tonight, but I'll be back in the next bit to do the gauge swatch and kind of set up the measurements. I might do the maths on screen. I'll see how I'm feeling, but I should be going to a knitting group tomorrow, so hopefully I can maybe do a little bit of my swatch in the morning and get cast on, so then I can sit and knit at the knitting group for a couple of hours. Cool. See you at the gauge swatch. Okay, so I'm not a morning person, and it's the same evening I had a shower and then decided that I would have a go at doing the gauge swatch. And I have had a little bit of a moment with it. So if you watch Retro Claude when she does hers, she does like these beautiful ones where she'll garter stitch around the edge and do it, and some people block their gauge swatches. I think Wool Needles Hands does that, but I've gone for the same level of chaos as Mine Walden, and Rachel Maxey like doesn't knit, but if she did, this is what she'd do if she ever gauge swatched. And I've just done a little bit. So as I said previously, I've cast on 20 stitches. You can see how the fabric is coming up, and I'm really happy with it. It's quite an open weave, but because the fabric's quite fluffy, and because alpaca's quite heavy, I think it's going to have a really nice drape to it. And that's what you can get if you're using kind of a double knit equivalent. Usually do it a little bit denser on like a 4mm, and you end up with a fabric that's a bit more like this, so something a little bit kind of denser, and you can't see the light through it in the same way. This is on a 4mm, this is actually on a 4mm. This is a 5.5, so it has left it open, but it leaves it with such a lovely drape, and that's the same as the original jumper that I showed. But I don't know what... Oh, it's so soft. I didn't even mean to touch it to my face. It's like, alpaca feels amazing. If you ever get the opportunity to touch some, please do. I don't know if I've got like so experienced at knitting that I've subconsciously done it and I'm just carrying the numbers around in my head, but I randomly grabbed a number out of the air to make it like easy, and I said 20 stitches, and if that works out as 5 inches, it is. It's come out at exactly 5 inches. So I cast on 20 stitches. I've knit 6 rows maybe here, and it's 5 inches, which is really easy maths because that works out at 4 stitches per inch. Christina's bust. Do I want to give out her measurements without consent? I'm going to do it anyway. Christina's bust is 37 inches as she measured and reported it to me. So I've divided that into 2, and that is 18.5. And then times 18.5 by 4, because it's 4 stitches per inch, which gives me 74 stitches. So that's how many I'm going to cast on at the bottom of the body of the jumper. Because I'm doing 1 by 1 rib, I only need that number to be divisible by 2. If I was doing 2 by 2 rib, to start it on a knit 2 and end it on a purl 2, flip it around and then start the next row on a knit 2. If you knit, you might understand. If not, soz. You need the number to be divisible by 4. You can just start the row wrong, so it's not necessarily like an issue for the knit 2, purl 2 rib. You can just knit 2, purl 2 one way and then just purl 2, knit 2 on the way back, as opposed to knitting 2. But yeah, so I'm going to do 1 by 1 ribbing. So I'm going to cast on 74 stitches. I'm going to do like that much ribbing. I don't like doing super long amounts of ribbing, I get really bored. And then I'll also have to do it on the back and the cuffs and stuff, so I'm going to do quite a short amount of ribbing. A couple of inches. I'm really bad at estimating. Yeah, like maybe 2 inches of ribbing. and then I'll work the other, so it's 15 inches from like armpit to hip, so I'll work the other 13 inches straight, and then I'll shape the front, and then I'll do the back to match, and then pick up, do around the neckline, do the sleeves, finish sewing everything together. Yeah, so I'm going to start with the front piece because it's one of the bigger ones, and also that will determine the length in the back because I'm going to do it until the kind of V-neck's about right. I am somewhat eyeballing it, but I will bring you along with me as we go. So I'm going to pop this guy off the needle because I don't need it anymore. Rewind it back into the ball, and cast on my 74 stitches for the piece. It's all very exciting. I'm keeping her up to date as we go because this is a really fun project, and I've really been enjoying kind of collaborative art. I went online and I read a piece of literature and I really liked the style of it, and it was just a short piece that this guy had written, and I said that I'd had a piece that was sort of in a similar style and asked if he would be willing to write it, and he was. And that was just like a really pleasing collaborative art, and then it inspired me to like write another companion piece to it. So yeah, I'm really enjoying this kind of collaborative process of people telling me what they want and then me like helping them realise it. So yeah, I'm gonna bring you along for the ride. I'm gonna bring her along for the ride in real time, and then hopefully this is a nice little jumper that comes out of it, and just gives me a way to interact with my knitting in another way, as an artist, I suppose. Very exciting. Catch you on the next bit. Quick update, there's a knitting group and managed to do all the ribbing for the first piece of the hem. So we are this far in, and I've just switched to go to do, I think I've done like 2 rows of the plain stocking stitch, and then I'll work that all the way up to the armpit length, which is 15 inches. I have got a tape measure with me, just in case. And then I'm going to start doing the V-neck shaping. This is going very quickly, so I think I'll be able to turn this around for Christina. I did check it's Christina and not Christine. Yeah, and she's excited about the update, so it'd be cool to see her reaction on the vlog. And I was a little bit nervous that I was doing too much of an order, because I got 500 grams, and for myself I'd usually aim for 300, but correct choice, because I'm almost like halfway through the first one, and these are 50 grams each, so I've got 500, so I should be okay. And I figure if anything's late, she wanted some sleeveless gloves as well, just as a, she wanted some in cashmere, but I'm thinking maybe she'll want some alpaca ones as well, and so I can just do those when I'm done with this. If I've got yarn left over, I'll offer it to her. Yeah, so I'm going to be doing that. And then, very excitingly, while I'm here, I've got a line on some Angora fibre. If these guys let me shave it off their bodies. Very exciting. Every little update. So I've been working on some other projects alongside over this last week, and I've also been like working in a sort of 9 to 5, which really cuts into the amount of time I have for knitting. Probably a good thing, to be honest. And also I've been doing kind of mixture of stuff. Partially because I want to make this project last. It's going so quickly. Every time I do and sit down and work on it, I make like vast quantities of progress. But as a little update, we've just hit the end of ball 1, and I'm working on the front panel, and I'm this far through. So I thought I'd just pop in, show the fabric, show how like lovely it is. It's so luxury. The yarn feels so nice, and like it's just really like just got such a lovely drape to it. It's just like it's got a real weight to it. Like I've seen people talking about silk and like a heavy silk where it's got like a lot of fibre in the fabric. That's kind of what it feels like a really heavy kind of luxury silk. It's got this really lovely little halo on it, not too fuzzy. We're not looking like some sort of mohair situation, but in the way that people kind of hold wool with mohair, and you get like a slightly fuzzy, very soft variation on that. This is just like a way to achieve that with a single fibre. The yarn is really lovely. It's come out, like, part of the reason that I wanted to buy the yarn rather than spin it myself was to like maintain a really good quality. And it's got a very like hand spun look to it. I would say it is within my quality range, which is kind of nice for me to see as well as a spinner, that I probably could have produced this myself. And it's not just that it's super duper amazing, that actually it's now within my own range, so it's kind of nice to see that. And it's also so authentically full of hay. Alpacas are notoriously dirty animals, so although this has been cleaned and spun and fully processed, it does, like, whenever you do hand spun and like from animals, there's always little bits of hay in it and stuff. So there's some hay in it. There's quite a lot of like really teeny little pieces, and they're easy enough to pick out. And like I'll go through, pick some more out. I might leave some in there, you know, make a little bit of a mixture of like all the pieces are really little. They're just like this sort of size. That's even showing up. So just like really teeny little couple of millimetre bits. But I thought it'd be quite fun to measure and see how far I got with this one ball of wool. I'm fairly certain I need 15 inches. And if we measure from hanging, a little bit of a rough guess, but that looks like 8.5 to me. Yeah. Like 8.5. It's quite tricky to measure stretchy fabric because like you get to pull it taut and it's just like whoop. And while like knitting stretch is mostly like sideways, like there still is stretch that way, so it can be a little bit tricky. But yeah, so we're about 8.5 inches in, which puts us a little over halfway to the armpit and the shaping. And so I am glad that I bought as much yarn as I did, because I was thinking, oh, have I been a little bit overindulgent with it? But alpaca can be so like heavy and dense as a fibre because the crimp on it isn't very dramatic, so when you spin it round it doesn't get a lot of air in it, so to get yarn the same thickness it's got more fibre in it generally, or at least that's what I found from spinning it. So the first 50 grams is down. I will check back in at the next exciting milestone, which might be either when I get to the end of ball 2 or when I get to the end of the front piece or when I start the shaping. We'll see which one of those happens next. I reckon we'll start the shaping, then we'll get to the end of ball 2, and then we'll finish the first piece, having just cut slightly into ball 3. Overall, I've got 10 balls of yarn. So if we have like 2 and a bit for the first bit, 2 and a bit for the back, let's say 2.5, then that would be 5, and then that leaves us 5 for the sleeves. That should be fine, but we'll find out. Anyway, time to crack into the next one. Exciting. We have got up to the next little milestone on here, the first and I think only piece of shaping on the entire garment, which is to put in the v-neck. So this is what we've got. If I whack out the tape measure, we've got our 15 inches, which is the length from armpit to like high hip. So I'm going to start the v-neck. So I've got, I believe, 84 stitches. I've got it written down. 74 stitches. So half of that is 37. So I'm going to knit across 37 minus 3, 34 stitches, do a knit 2 together, knit 1, and then purl back. And then I'm going to repeat that on one side, and then I'm going to go up the other side, and that'll give me like one side of the V and then the other side of the V. And when we've got to probably like that much sort of thing, so probably 6-8 inches, that'll be when I cast off, and that'll give us the shape of the front piece and the total length of the back piece. And then I'm going to cast on another 74 stitches for the back piece, copy the ribbing, and then work until the back measures the same as the front. And then it'll be onto the sleeves, and then we'll pick up some stitches for the neckline to put some neck ribbing in, and then it'll all be done. So yeah, having a good time. As far as yarn goes, we are still on that second ball, and I have this much left, so not very much, but I did get to the shaping before the second ball ran out, and I've got the third ball ready. So I'm going to start the shaping now, so that's all kind of like nicely set up. And then, yeah, I'll pop back possibly when I've finished the front panel, or maybe if I go and knit in any more interesting places. I'll catch you later. Update time, we've hit another milestone on the jumper. We have first bit completed. So I've started with the front, and I've gone hem upwards, and I separated the V. So this is the neckline. I put the camera at a really stupid angle. There we go. So you can see nothing. So this is the V-neck. Christina's a bit bigger than me. Obviously it's all like rolling in at the sides, because that's what stocking stitch does. So yeah, and she's got more of a bust than I do. So yeah, this is kind of a rough idea of where it'll be. I am going to pick up the neckline stitches when I've done the front and the back to give it a nice little bit of ribbing, like how I've got this ribbing here. I'm going to do that with the point of the V. But the front is done. So this is the whole piece. The bit of ribbing at the bottom. There's so much hay in this yarn. I don't know if anyone's visible there. So hopefully a lot of that will come out, because I'll give it a little wash at the end to like block it. I'll put some wool wash on it. But yeah, that might be a little bit of a process of picking out, which I'll do partially, and may need to be continually enacted through the life of the garment. But yeah, so the front piece is done. I didn't film when I ran out of the second ball because I was knitting at work. Because it was a bit of a slow day today, so I was reading and knitting. Part of the reason why I'm doing commission work is because I am knitting more than I need the things that I'm making, and part of the reason I knit so much is as like a concentration thing. So when I'm reading, I find it really helpful to kind of give me the right amount of stimulation. And I told occupational health this was like due to a possible neurodivergence, and I'd appreciate if it could like be part of it. So I've got like on my notes that I'm allowed to knit at work, which is really nice, and you know, it works out amazingly for me to genuinely be able to kind of concentrate more, and also to kind of produce more beautiful things. So this is where I ran out, because I tend to just knot them together, which is part way up side 1, I think it was. So I did this side first and got up to here, and then I did and this side is the first bit out of this ball. So this is ball 3. They're 50 gram balls, which means it was about 125 grams for the first part. So fingers crossed, it'll be something similar. Obviously I don't have the V, so it'll be probably a little bit more for the back. So another roughly 125 makes it 5 times 50. Oh, the maths brain is not mathsing. 250 grams. So about 250 grams for the body, and then that leaves me with the other 250 for the sleeves. So that should work. I don't know if I did that maths correctly. Shame me in the comments if I did it wrong. But yeah, I'm glad I got it, because I got 500 grams, which was like a little bit more than I thought I needed. So that's like erring on the side of caution. Because I'd normally say like a jumper for me would be about 300. But a bit bigger, and alpaca is very heavy as a fibre, so you get less yardage out of it. And also the spin isn't, there's not like because it's hand spun, it's not like labelled of like this is how many yards it is, and that's kind of not printed. It's a little bit more like you get what you get. So yeah, so I'm going to cast on the next bit and do some ribbing, and then I will check back in at some point when it feels like a good idea. The back piece I'm just going to do as a rectangle, so it's going to be like this, but then just the entire height of this side. And that's like 15 inches to there, and then that's like another 10, 25 inches long, maybe? I don't know. Either way, time to do the next beat. See you later. Okay, little update for our alpaca knitting jumper. It's been a little while, probably about a week since the last check-in. I took some different knitting away with me, and I've been kind of working on some other projects kind of here and there, because I am dragging this one out because the alpaca feels so nice. Christina has confirmed that she in fact does not need it at any point soon, and to be honest it's getting sunny, so whether you finish it in the middle of June or the middle of July is fairly immaterial. Although it's England, we may end up with a secret second winter halfway through summer. You never know. There may still be use for an alpaca jumper in August, at least in the evening. So I've been working on the back, having picked it up yesterday, having only done like a teeny little bit of the ribbing. This is where we're at. So again, it's like the drape is lovely, the larger gauge, really enjoy knitting at a larger gauge. I think I may have to just do this forever. The nice thing about this being such a small project is that I can literally knit it anywhere, which means that we are at our second circus this weekend, and we've got a few more inches in on the back. Hope you like House Circus, Christina, because a little bit of that experience is knitted into the back of your jumper. About this far up. London, and I've got a little bit of an update. I don't have a tape measure with me, so I can't confirm, but I think I'm pretty close to finishing up the back. There might be another couple of inches for it, but while I was out and not really able to measure things properly, I figured I didn't want to like knit too far and then have to frog anything, because I hate frogging. And also this yarn's a little bit fluffy, and I thought it's probably going to catch on itself a little bit. I reckon it'd be okay, but I would just prefer not to. So I have started to cast on the sleeve. I didn't want to cast off the back because again I didn't want to have to unpick the cast off or anything. So what I've done is, because I've got a centre pull cake, that's how I bought it, is I've started using the outside of the skein for the sleeve, cast on my 60 sleeve stitches, because that's what I worked out from counting and wrapping around like my arm and stuff. That's probably about right. And then I've still got the back piece, so what I'm going to do is work across both. When I get home, I should have a bit of time to measure before I have to go to bed, and then I'll know how much more I've got to do on the body before I can move on fully to the sleeves. But this means that even if I don't get a chance to measure it, or even if I'm not quite sure, I'm still able to get some work done on the sleeves without either casting off anything too prematurely, or having to undo anything, or frog anything, hopefully. So yeah, back piece is looking pretty massive. It's at least 12 inches because I've got a little business card with a ruler on it that I keep on my phone, so it's at least 12 inches. Potentially it to be like 24, but that feels way too big, but that's kind of what I measured the front piece as, so I want to check because I'm doubting myself. And then the sleeve is just the cast on and one row. So yeah, I will update with how far I actually got, maybe when I get home today or maybe tomorrow, because I should be in for most of that, so catch you later. Okay, made it home. Only just survived yarn chicken with the train because working from both ends of the ball, I have this much left, literally just this one length. So I had maybe like one row left before I ran out, but I thought I will measure out the back piece, which is this long, against the front piece. So if we lay that out flat, I'll try and show it, but I think a bit close. We are miles away. You can see we've got this much left in it, so maybe 24 inches really was where it was at, so I probably didn't need to start on the sleeve just yet, but I may as well get a few inches in that, and then when I start with the sleeve, it'll might start properly on the sleeves. I'll already have a few inches in and I'll be like ahead of myself. I'm also now wondering about yarn chicken. Let's see what we've got left. So we've got 4 balls left. So definitely be enough to take us to the end of this bit. And then hopefully enough to do all the sleeves. The body part, I think, was sort of closest to 80 stitches wide, the sleeve 60 stitches. So yeah, hopefully like 2 and a bit balls of yarn will be enough for the sleeves. And then we'll be done. Making progress. Exciting milestone update. The back panel is finished. It is just a rectangle. So it's a knit piece of fabric with a little bit of ribbing along the bottom. That's all. Oh, hello. Hi. 23 inches, so it matches the front piece. So we have the front, we have the back. So with my general desire where I kind of get bored and then start doing other little related activities, the related activity I can now do is sew the shoulder seams. That came out funny. So, oh, and I'm wearing the jumper that was modelled on. So I've got like the front and back piece, so I could sew along here, and that'll give me that shoulder piece. Christina's a little bit bigger than me based on her measurements, so while this is even wider on me, hopefully it'll kind of sit about right, and I also have the neck piece to add, and I'm going to do that at the end. But the front and back are done. My partner's playing video games and sometimes chatty. So the front and back is done, which just leaves us with the sleeves. Now I did cast those on, as I mentioned in a previous update. So this is how far I've got with that. Just a couple of inches at the moment. But I did ask Christina to confirm, because when I got her shoulder measurement, I think the measurement that I got from her was like from here. But that's a little bit, that only works if you're doing a set-in sleeve. So if, saucy, this is a top. If your shoulder seam kind of comes a little bit more like where this like top strap comes in, then having that measurement from the shoulder makes a lot of sense. But because this is a drop shoulder construction, and it's a rectangle which then comes blocky, the shoulder seam doesn't sit up on the shoulder like that. It sits somewhere down the arm, and how far down the arm it sits depends on like the size of your body. So I've got her to measure from the centre of her chest to her wrist, and I've got that as an updated measurement, which is 70 centimetres. So what I'm going to do is basically take from this centre point, right in the middle of where the jumper is, and measure from there, and then just subtract whatever amount that this is, and then that'll give me my arm measurement. Might I have been able to do this mathematically based on what she said? Maybe, but I don't know. So it was to try, yeah. No, I wouldn't, because it's, yeah. Okay. So, I mean, I might have this measurement already, but... So from the centre point, unrolled, that is 27 centimetres. So 70 minus 20 is 50, minus 7 is 43. Let me just check. Okay, I checked, it was 43. So, figure if they're going to be in the room and interrupt, them may as well be useful. But yeah, just said to check. Oh no, I've got a knot in my tape measure. I'm very intelligent and capable. Please message me for commissions. So okay, so I need to make sure the sleeves are 43 centimetres, which, according to this tape measure, is 17 inches exactly, which is kind of cool because that's around what my underarm to wrist measurement is, which might be a coincidence, but who knows. So hopefully I've worked all that maths out correctly. Normally when I'm making stuff for myself I just put it on, but like, I can't do that in this case because I'm a different size to the person I'm making for. So. And what I've currently got is 7 centimetres. 7. Yarn-wise, I actually found another yarn ball. I was changing out one of my handbags and I realised that I'd put an extra one in just in case I ran out, and then I'd taken the project out but not the extra ball of yarn. So I have 4 whole balls left, and each ball is 50, so that's, I've got basically 100 gram per sleeve if I need it, plus the amount that this is. So say like 100 grams per sleeve, and then like, if we say this is probably the amount I'd need for the neckband, that's the amount that I've got left for any of that, and like sewing up the seams and any kind of other finishing and stuff. So hopefully that'll be okay, because the body took 300 grams, and usually, I don't know, we might be sort of needing 150 across both, and then kind of the little bits left over. So I'm thinking, because she's also mentioned about a desire for fingerless gloves, if I get to the end and I have stuff left over, that's what I'm going to propose making with it, depending on how much is left. But I will kind of check in with her, because if I've got 50 grams, that's probably enough for a hat or something like that. So a really small scarf, like the Sophie scarf, like just a really skinny sort of one. So yeah, potentially still got quite a lot of options. I'm not feeling worried about the yarn at this point. I think we've got enough. I've also, when I shook out my yarn bag, I didn't realise that it's got a little handwritten note in it, and it was Caroline that spun this one. And she's apologised that there was thanks for your patience while you were waiting. Sorry, there's a little bit of hay still in the yarn. And she signed it from Caroline and Kahlua, and there's a little owl. I didn't notice that because it ended up being at the bottom of the bag, so it was only when I like poured everything out the other day that I noticed it, but I didn't want to read it on camera just in case it was like personal or sweet, or didn't feel like I should be reading it publicly. Anyway, so I'm going to put I'm actually going away on a long train journey this weekend, so I don't know, I might grab a smaller project bag that isn't this envelope and put all of the yarn in there, because I've got quite a lot of I'm gonna like Leeds, like I've got like 6 hours on the train each way, and then like time at my mate's house, so I might end up with enough time to finish them, but I'll work that out and I'll take that away and I'll keep updating as we go. Little update at my friend's house. Sneaky vlog got me without getting to veg. I was knitting all on the train yesterday, and I'm sure I'll be knitting on the train back. Quite a long train journey. So yeah, the sleeve that was like that when I left home is now almost complete, and I'm just starting on the ribbing. So we're aiming for that 43 centimetres. So I've done 38 centimetres of just sort of plain, and then I've just started up on the 1x1 ribbing, so I'm going to do that for, I think I was going to do about 4 centimetres of it. So I've got my tape measure that I brought up with me, and yeah, so nearly there with that. I'm probably going to end up casting this one off before I get on the train, switching out my balls of yarn and picking up the other one to do on the way back, and we'll see how far I get. I'm probably going to be doing a lot more knitting than reading, because I suspect I'll be a lot more tired, especially towards the end of the journey, whereas on the way up I was kind of a bit more tired at the start because it was early in the morning, so it's a bit of an early start yesterday and a late finish tonight. So yeah, got through the end of the ball of yarn that I'd started on Tuesday when I cast on the sleeve, and like was just finishing up that back panel when I was out on the train then, and updated then. And I've got all the other balls of yarn with me because I thought I'd probably get like pretty far through. So I finished up that one, and then I am obviously quite a lot of the way through this one. There's not a lot left. So I suspect I'll cast on with this one for the second sleeve, but I'm going to have the other one handy. Which then means I think that I'll have 100 grams left. I suspect I'll have 2 balls of yarn left. I'll definitely have at least one that's not been broken into at all. So it's taken about 50 grams-ish, maybe a little bit kind of more, a little bit less, for each sleeve. So yeah, like 300 on the body, and then like another 100 for the sleeves, which is pretty good. So that's like a 400 gram jumper. I probably use like 300 for myself, where I'm a little bit smaller, and I've used like 500 for my partner, who's quite a lot bigger, so having it something between the middle kind of makes sense. But yeah, with alpaca being so dense, I did worry that it was going to be kind of not enough. So potentially have about 100 grams left, which will probably be enough for some nice gloves, maybe a hat. So I'll drop Christina a message like when I'm done and I know what yarn I've got left over, and see what she wants me to do with the last bits, because she's paid for it. So it seems like it would be quite nice to add in a little bit extra for that. So yeah, making good progress, nearly finished. Really enjoyed the project, and hopefully the vlog comes out nice and it's a fun thing for her to watch, and maybe also some other people. I'll catch you later on the next update. Just kept borrowing till I found a dog, a sickness arise with the old yellow room stroke to such a demon fates and folded. Hello my lovelies, we have hit another milestone and I thought it's probably time to update. So it's been about a week and a half since my last video clip, I think I was updating on the train home from Leeds, and I was working on the first sleeve. I'd almost finished it. So I finished that sleeve either on the train home or when I was already back. And this is what it is. It's a rectangle, and then it's got the 1x1 ribbing at the end. So okay, so we are at the probably penultimate update for the jumper. I might do one when everything's together and then one when everything is blocked, but I am just on the sewing up stages. So everything's been knitted. I put the shoulder seams together earlier today and picked up the neckline and just knitted that round. I made the ribbing the same length as at the bottom of the hem and at the cuffs, so that's all consistent. This is the second sleeve, which I'm just sewing into a tube with the ribbing at one end, and the rest of the jumper is together. So this is what it looks like at the moment. So the side is open, it's waiting for the sleeve. But this side is done, and I've woven in all the ends as well, sort of as I've been going. So that's what the neckline looks like with the ribbing. That's one sleeve, and then the other half of it. So I'm going to quickly pop it on so you can get an idea of what it looks like. So super nice wide neckline, very drapey and super duper warm. So yeah, so it just needs the other sleeve and all to be kind of sewn up on the other side. And then that'll be done. And then it just needs a nice wash. I'll pin it out nice and flat so it has a chance to block. I think it'll grow a little bit with blocking, so I'm thinking the sleeves possibly need a little smidge extra length. I think they're sort of maybe 2 centimetres shorter or something like that. But yeah, so we are pretty much there. Guess what's finished? It is the jumper. It is finished. Yeah. So all sewn together, and all of the pieces done. All the ends have been woven in, and it is a lovely piece of fabric. A lovely jumper. I'm really happy with how it came out. It was exactly as envisaged. I'm going to put it on. It is designed for Christina and not me, and she's a little bigger than me, especially kind of in the bust. But yeah, it's exactly the jumper that I said I was going to make. It's come out exactly as intended. The only other thing I'm going to do is I am going to wash and block it. So blocking, if you are not familiar with knitting, is when you wash an item and then you let it dry flat. And what that does is it kind of flattens it all out, and it's essentially like ironing, but it also corrects some minor tension issues in the stitches. So everything, so if you've got a little bit that's kind of a bit tighter than another bit and a bit that's a bit looser, it kind of relaxes out the fibres so that they kind of all end up being the same, or a little bit closer to the same. But also this one needs a wash because it's still got some hay in it. Every process when it comes to going from raw fibre, because like I've spun alpaca, I spun some like 2 days ago actually, from, I don't think it's Kahlua because I've looked at it now and the colour is different, so I think it's from willow that I've been spinning, but I have one of Kahlua's fleeces. They're technically called blankets, but I have some of Kalua's fibre for spinning. And it has the big bits of hay in it, and so Caroline spun it and it's still got teeny little pieces of hay in there. So I'm going to give it a wash to get all of those out, and that just needs to be left flat. But because we're doing stuff in the house for the next couple of days, I'm going to have to wait a little bit before I can do that process. But yeah, that also will help to relax the fibre out a bit, because I think there's an extra sort of centimetre or two on the sleeve which might be beneficial. Kind of at the moment it's hitting here. It'd be kind of nice if it hit here. But also that's going to adjust a little bit based on how wide Christina's shoulders are compared to mine. I'm quite narrow shouldered, but I'm also quite muscular shouldered, so I'm not entirely sure. Also, as aforementioned, our busts are a different shape. She's taller than I am based on the measurements that she sent. So yeah, it's all done. I am going to end the video here. I'm going to end the vlog. Obviously I'm still going to wash it, and I'm also going to do the fingerless gloves for her. Yeah, it's all done. So I'm going to put all the files on the computer, ready to edit, and I'll post this up. And Christina, hope you liked the jumper, and hope you liked watching me make it, and hope everyone else liked watching me make it too. I will see you in my next project vlog, my next crafting creation. I've been enjoying vlogging again. Yeah, just remember, you put a lot of rubles in a dead rat if you really try. Catch you later.